there's never a shortage of good ideas out there or good strategies. The shortage is in the implementation of these strategies. So as you look at budgets, yes, you've heard about a production budget. What is my cost per visit? What is my cash flow? What are my marketing budgets? We have to set for each product, for each project, for a marketing campaign and for a yearly campaign, we have to set budgets. So if I'm going to do a massive marketing campaign, I have to set a budget and work within that budget. And I can look at previous years or previous project budgets to determine what an allowable expense should be. But if we're not putting a cap on them, there's very little incentive for the people that spend money, including ourselves, to stay within the guidelines. And we just, we spend 100 here and 100 there, and we don't realize it's adding up to a whole lot of money. And that's the whole purpose of a budget, is it keeps us disciplined. If you looked at the profitable offices, they're very consistent, and consistency is the child of discipline. So budgets will help you to be disciplined. So we're going to look at how you should set up a budget. So let me pause here and show you our X-ray. So as you go into the Legacy X-ray and you click on, you see all these tabs down here, tax planning tab, marketing tabs, and so forth. As you click on the budget tab here, you'll see that there is a business monthly budget, there's a personal monthly budget, there's the insurance section and all that. Well, as we come up here, this is really, to me, the best way to make a budget effective is we come into a cost like printing and say, okay, printing should cost us $120 a month. And we have a month where it actually costs us $250, and we realize there is a difference. This is an important category because what it tells us is we're 100%, 120% over budget in this item, $130. Well, yeah, is it really worth hassling over $130? Probably not. But $130 times 12 months times how many decades are you going to be in your career, and all of a sudden we're looking at $10,000 or $20,000 because we didn't look at a system for putting a percent or a dollar amount on that printing, and we did something. We responded when we were, over budget, or we needed to revise our budget because it just wasn't realistic to be at $120 for our printing because of the type of campaigns we're running. So we look at this budget in all these categories, and we come up with the total difference, total projected cost. We put our revenue up here. And at the end, we realize now we've got a cash flow from the business that carries over to my personal income. And now I go through my personal loan, and I have my credit cards and my vehicle payments and all these other things on a personal level. And I then am able to derive a budget. And it's that easy. So go to that tab on the website. There's a tab in the X-ray, and as you fill out that budget, both the business and the personal budget, do one this month, one next month. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. But as you chip away at that, the hard work is in the beginning, and once you've got that in place, pretty easy to just monitor and look for where the big disparities are and where there's big variances. The other thing is you're going to have months where you have big expenses in one category. The best way to look at a budget is to look at annual or at least quarterly, but certainly if not quarterly, look at the annual numbers, and then you can make some averages, and that can help you to forecast what your budget really should be. The other thing is you can look at the averages of other chiropractic offices in the country, that chart that we started with, to say, okay, this is what my wages are. We work with an office that's 36, 37% wages, 18 employees. That's far too many employees for the number that they're grossing. And so we have to look at, okay, we see some of the costs. We've got a whole bunch of part-time employees that we have very high training costs when we have part-time employees in an office where we have extensive training needs. So we start to look at those averages and determine where we can sharpen the saw, where we can start to trim some fat. You are extrapolating. It's a big word, but basically what we're doing is we're taking historical data and determining what's going to happen next year. And this allows us to forecast. All Fortune 500 companies forecast. If you look at You know, a day when the stock market drops 300 points, it's probably because Apple or some big company missed their forecast. They thought they were going to earn 3 cents a share, and they earned 2 cents a share. They were forecasting, and they're usually not off by more than a penny or two per share. So you have to do the same thing if you want to expect the same type of results. If you want to get the results and have high profit margins like a Fortune 500 company, we've got to do the same types of things. Well, these are the exact things we're talking about. We're forecasting, we're budgeting. These things each take discipline, they each take time, but think of them as working on your business. Now, let's talk about how do you know if you're really on track? How do you know when you should update your budget? To me, this is a big one. This third item is you're going to make mistakes, and that's good because that's tuition. That's part of being a business owner and getting better, is when we make a mistake, budget, financial, what have you, we change, we adopt, and I would keep a diary of those lessons learned, because most of the time what we see is recurring mistakes, the same mistakes made over and over again. And if you have a diary and you say, okay, never do business with this person again, or never spend money on this, or never give the debit card to so-and-so, you now realize, okay, that's never going to happen again, and you keep those rules. You start to make some rules for yourself. We're going to talk about a few rules for budgeting in a minute, but keeping that diary will help you. You can keep it on a Word document. Refer to it every quarter and put 2 or 3 things in there. That one idea can save you tens of thousands of dollars per year. I'm also going to talk about when to panic, because there are times you probably ought to be freaking out. So, first of all, you've got to collect figures as they become available. You can't get 6 months behind and then go in and enter a bunch of data. You've got to carve out some time to be looking at these numbers on a quarterly, monthly basis. You want to look at that variance. We talked about that. What are the reasons? Is it a trend? Is my marketing expense going up every single month and my profit margin going down every single year? We look at lots of offices where we see a trend. They were small, they were nimble, they were 50% profit margin, then the next year they were 40, the next year they were 30, the next year they were 20. We look at this and say, do you see a trend here? Do you see anything happening? Well, if somebody sits around and quits exercising and starts eating, garbage food, and they start gaining 3 pounds a month, and they shouldn't have to wait a year before they realize they've added 36 pounds. You should be able to know in a month or two, boy, I've added 6 pounds. I've got to correct the course. I've got to change my behavior. So we want to look for those variances and respond. There is a take process, T-A-K-E. The right people need to know about the budget. That for you may be your bookkeeper, it may be your CPA, it may be legacy, hopefully. It may be a financial advisor that's good and that his scope is broad enough to work on your profit margin with you. But I would have that person that's helping you to do that, maybe a spouse. The other thing you have to do is act. You have to take action. Don't let this data overwhelm you and say, boy, I'm in a 15% profit margin, I'm failing, or I'm collecting 60 grand a month and it's all gone at the end of the month. I'm collecting all this money. I thought certainly when I collect 60 grand a month I'd have plenty left over. Don't let that overwhelm you. Usually we become paralyzed when we're disorganized, and that leads to procrastination. And that's the number one mistake people make with this. They procrastinate. I'm going to do it later. I don't want to do it right now. The reality is you have to take action. Okay, so if you do nothing else, commit to yourself with that scratch paper. I'm going to take action. I'm going to change this thing or this thing. Write down those, write down 1, 2, 3. Here are the 3 things I'm going to change as a result of this webinar. If you do that, the knowledge from the webinar doesn't pay you dividends just for the next 24 hours. It pays you dividends for the rest of your life. Well, the person that didn't listen to this webinar, that's off just working, doing adjustments, he's going to have his 90 minutes worth of dividends that whatever activity he did, and it's gone. He's running on a treadmill. He hasn't set anything up or made any changes in his business that's going to pay him an increased dividend that's going to lead him to financial independence. All it's doing is providing for his current consumption. No hay in the barn. No money in the bank. No money under the mattress. We're going to monitor it. We're going to exchange information with your team members. Team member would be your advisors, your CPA, your financial advisor. To me, I would have that conference call once or twice a year where you get your professionals on the team. They're monitoring each other. They're making sure that they're all being proactive. Somebody has to quarterback it. Find the quarterback. If it's not you, find a quarterback to implement all this information.